The world's economy has been dominated by the US dollar for decades. It's the global currency for trade, the reserve currency for central banks, and the benchmark for international finance. But lately, a big question is emerging. Can BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, actually replace the US dollar? First, let's understand why the US dollar has held such power. After World War II, the dollar became the backbone of the global financial system, thanks to the Bretton Woods Agreement. Countries pegged their currencies to the dollar, and the US held massive gold reserves to back it up. Even after the gold standard ended, the dollar remained dominant because the US economy was strong, stable, and trusted worldwide. Now, why is BRICS even thinking about challenging the dollar? There are a few reasons. One, the US has increasingly used its currency as a tool for economic sanctions. Countries like Russia and Iran have faced severe restrictions because of dollar dominance. Two, global trade is growing rapidly in emerging markets, and BRICS nations are big players in this new economic landscape. And three, there's a growing desire among these countries to reduce dependency on the US, especially when political tensions rise. BRICS has taken some concrete steps. For example, China and Russia have been promoting trade in their own currencies rather than the dollar. India has been exploring ways to settle trade in rupees. And recently, there has been talk of a BRICS currency, or at least a payment system that bypasses the dollar. But here's the catch. Replacing the US dollar is not easy. The dollar is deeply embedded in the global financial system. It's used for oil trading, commodities, international loans, and even private contracts. The US has deep, liquid financial markets, which means investors worldwide can easily buy and sell dollars and dollar-denominated assets. BRICS nations would need to offer the same level of stability, trust, and liquidity, and that's a huge challenge. Another problem is internal diversity. BRICS countries are very different economically and politically. China is a huge export powerhouse with significant currency reserves. India is growing fast, but still faces domestic financial challenges. Brazil has its own economic cycles, and South Africa has smaller influence. Coordinating all these countries to back a single currency or system would be extremely difficult. Currency confidence is also key. The world trusts the US dollar because the US has never defaulted on its debt, and the dollar is relatively stable. Any new currency would have to prove it can withstand economic crises, political pressure, and market volatility. That could take decades. Some experts believe that instead of fully replacing the dollar, BRICS might create a multi-currency system. In this system, the dollar would remain dominant, but trade and reserves would be more diversified. Countries could use a mix of dollars, yuan, rupees, and rubles for international settlements. This is more realistic than imagining a single BRICS currency overtaking the dollar overnight. Another factor is the US economy itself. It's huge, innovative, and resilient. Even with rising debt and political challenges, investors still see the US as a safe haven. The dollar benefits from this trust, and that's not something that can be easily replaced by political agreements or regional alliances. So, can BRICS replace the US dollar? The short answer is not anytime soon. The long answer is more nuanced. BRICS could reduce dependency on the dollar, promote alternative currencies and trade, and gradually shift the global balance. But a full replacement would require enormous economic coordination, trust building, and financial infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. At the end of the day, the world is moving toward a more multipolar currency system. The dollar will remain dominant for years, but BRICS and other emerging economies are pushing for alternatives. This could mean a future where no single currency rules the world, but several coexist, sharing influence in global trade and finance. In conclusion, the US dollar isn't going anywhere immediately, but the conversation around BRICS shows a clear desire for change. Global trade, geopolitics, and economic growth are creating opportunities for alternatives. Whether that means a new global currency or a diversified system, one thing is certain: the dominance of the dollar is being questioned, and the next few decades could look very different from the past 70 years.